Hello and welcome back to the Atlas Solutions podcast. My name's Brian. He's Chad. And today I think we're going to reminisce about the Macintosh. Hey, Chad, how's it going?
Hey, Brian. So I finally enticed Grayson to be on the podcast. Grayson's one of our engineers. And we're talking about computers and Macs. But one of the things I love about Apple is the creative side. And I wanted to kind of talk about my story of like what got me into using a Mac in the first place. And that was audio recording. So back, I don't even remember when. I mean, gosh, it was a long time ago. But my brother was in college for graphic design. So especially back then, 10, 15 years ago, if you used a Mac, it was like, wow, somebody has an Apple in their computer, or they're in that lab on that side of the college. And so my brother was one of those guys, and he had the colored iMacs, I believe, in his university at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte here. He had those computers, and then the Mac Pro came out, and it was what we refer to as the cheese grater Mac, which then became the trash can. And now we have the new upgraded cheese grater with a bigger slice of cheese and a lot more expensive. But yeah, so my brother Cam, the graphic design artist, he started using his Mac. Well, we were recording at our house, and this is sort of in the early days when you used to have to go to a studio and pay, as you still can. But it was like, hey, why don't we just get this computer and we'll plug some microphones into it and we'll just record at our house just for scratch demos. And we'll see how it goes. It's free basically as long as you've got the computer. So the band I was in at the time, we got some money together and scraped together some PC parts, and a guy had an old computer that his dad had gotten rid of and some HP or whatever. And one of us made the investment to buy Pro Tools, and we started loading it on there, and it was at my house, and we would record stuff. Well, then my brother brought his Mac home, and on the install disc, do you guys remember install discs? Well, you would actually have a real physical CD or DVD, and you'd pop it in there. So on that disc, it said PC or Mac, which I think is crazy now, because I don't know how much a DVD holds, but for a DVD to have the install of both is pretty small, and compared to now, I mean, these apps are huge now. So anyway, I proceed to install Pro Tools on this Mac, and I'm trying to remember the connectors. And Brian, you probably remember, it was FireWire 400.
Yes. Yeah. It was like a fat USB cable almost. Yeah. It was like extra, had a little like cut on the side of it.
And it had a little cut. Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, my brother's had FireWire 800, which is like the latest thing, which for our terms now, that means 800 megabits per second. For comparison, for those who don't know, this is a little tech tidbit. USB 3 is 40 gigabit. So it's a lot faster than that. But that was the latest technology.
I still have FireWire stuff.
Well, and that's what I wanted to talk about. I'm actually going to get to that point. So we get this computer set up, and then you immediately start running into, I can't just plug a microphone into this computer. So what do I do? And especially back then, there were no USB microphones. There was nothing. You just plug right in. You had to have an interface. Well, gosh, we don't have an interface now. You got to go get an interface. And long story short, we made it happen. But right away, the OS for me was a game changer. It just felt faster and better and cleaner, and the buttons were nicer. And as a former PC user, it was just things like, the X to close the windows over here, and it's a little bit different, but it's still red, and you can close the window by clicking it. And the single mouse was a little bit awkward to get used to. But other than that, it was a really good experience on the Mac. The other thing was sort of that was the early days of plug and play. Everything now is basically plug and play, but back then it was like you had to get something, you had to download a driver to get it to even work in the first place. All that to say, the Mac was a great switch over as a creative person to say, now we can actually focus on being creative and less on like wrestling with this computer to get it to even function in the first place. So all that said, that's kind of the history of my creative side of, getting into the Mac world and everything. And I wanted to spotlight Grayson today, not only because he's an awesome engineer, works for us, but Grayson has one of my, and I'm not saying this just to be nice, it's one of my top 10 favorite Christmas albums that I listen to. It's called Anthem Suite, Angels We Have Heard on High, What Child Is This, and Oh Holy Night. And I just personally think they're super, super awesome. But Grayson, I wanted you to talk about producing that, and what is it like to produce an album at home on a Mac now? So did you go in the studio for this? Did you do it at home? Did you do a little bit of both? What's the process like for that?
Yeah, I made the original demos for some of the songs at home on, I think, just GarageBand. I've got some more capable audio software, but for this, I just wanted quick, open, press record. I think I just sang through the onboard microphone on the computer just to capture ideas. And I did the project with a great buddy of mine. His name is Jacob Early. He's a great music producer, longtime friend. And I just hit him up and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about recording some Christmas music. Do you want to do it with me?" So that was the start of it.
So let's talk about the technical a little bit. So I remember when we played some of these songs at Christmas time, sort of different arrangements of them or whatever. We would just doing the song, but these kind of changed into your versions or whatever. But so when you're recording on a Mac, what does it mean to make a scratch? Like, what do you mean by that?
So everybody's songwriting process or music arranging process is different. For me, I like to imagine the song, the space that it sits in, the instruments, the parts. And when you make a demo, a lot of it's exploration, but also you want to convey it to other people that you may be working with so they can catch the vibe, the atmosphere of the song. But the demos were really bare. Like if you heard them, you would laugh. Like, have you guys ever heard, you can look it up on YouTube, Michael Jackson's demos for like Beat It?
Oh, no.
It's really amazing. So you can pull it up, but he is singing all the parts, the drums, the bass, the chords, and then he's singing the vocal over it. So he wrote everything in his head, and they went in the studio with musicians and captured that idea.
Wow.
So I'm not at the level of Michael Jackson by any means, but once you have the direction, so Jacob and I would just sit there, and it's in a studio, but the studio is a single room, with an Apple computer and some other audio stuff. So it's, you could think of it in your head as we did it in a bedroom.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, we just started with maybe a vocal and just a guitar part, and then just started layering on parts as we went. So
did the songs, I liked when you said like you have an idea in your head, but did the song come out on the recording like it was in your head?
I think so. And hopefully it comes out better than it does in your head. And when you're working with other people, they're going to bring elements of what they hear. So I didn't mix it. Jacob mixed it. And, I was actually in Bolivia when he was mixing it. So he would send me, exports, and I would listen, give him some feedback, but I really just tried to stay out of that. I tend to be one who could zoom in and get really detailed about everything. So I tried to just pull back and let Jacob do his magic.
Yeah.
But the songs, the arrangements came from just over the years. I had played some of these songs alone. So I've had a few years playing them and experimenting and dreaming with them.
Well, I think, I heard Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys say that, I believe it was Good Vibrations or something, but it's like one of the only songs that he said the original idea in his head actually made it to tape, where it was like, that's what I've been hearing the whole time. And I think if anybody's ever produced, you like have this thing in your head, and it can be very frustrating when you record it and you're like, I mean, it's not quite there, you know, but I think that's great if you're just performing, and you've kind of, cause I remember you playing some of those songs and some of those parts were not necessarily in there. And then it kind of evolved, cause I think one of my favorite things about the album is it's so traditional. It really speaks to the original melodies of those classic hymns. And I mean, we've heard Old Holy Night a million times. Everybody who's done a Christmas album has to do O Holy Night, but this is a good one in the fact that you kind of take some liberties of like, well, here's a part that feels like it fits, but it's totally you. It's not Oh Holy Night, you know, and I love that part. And of course the guitars and the simplicity of it. It's like kind of full band, but talk about that. Like, as far as the instrumentation, what did you use for guitars, drums, all that stuff?
So it's an acoustic guitar, few electric guitar layers. There are some high strung guitar, Nashville tuning guitar. There's a cello player on there, and then some keys, some MIDI instruments. And that's about it. A lot of vocals, a lot of reverb.
Yeah.
Drum samples. Jacob sent me the first mix and I was like, whoa, this is a lot of reverb, but
I like reverb. I'm a reverb.
Yeah. And in the songs, it's traditional. You know, I didn't want to like go and completely destroy and, you know, make it something that didn't feel sentimental, but the songs like Angels We Have Heard on High is, you know, it, once it gets to the end, now it's Hark the Herald Angels Sing kind of.
Oh,
yeah. I just like the message of both of those songs together.
Well, and again, I think there's a genuineness that comes through the sound. Like, that's one of the things about art, going back to the kind of technology side and the artistic side, is you've said a couple things that I think speak volumes. Is if your technology gets in the way of your creating, that's a huge problem, because if you've got a great idea and you're nailing the part on your guitar, or your voice is feeling good, or whatever you're happen to be trying to record, if you can't get it recorded quick, there's a good chance you'll miss out on it. But there's something genuine about this particular album that I love, and my family loves it. My kids asked to listen to it, and Kim listens to it. But yeah, being able to let the technology kind of get out of the way so you can quickly get that recording, get that scratch demo in. And then also, I was thinking about what it would be like to produce, you know, in the 70s. I was listening to, I think it was Aerosmith or something, saying that basically when they recorded an album, it was the whole band played it, and you got the take or you didn't. And that was just it. You just go in and smash the song out, and that's what you get. So you get all this sort of cool, sort of vibey, like there's songs where, I think it's Dude Look Like a Lady or something, where there's this sound of a rattle. And when Steven Tyler talks about it, he literally had like a shaker in his hand, and it broke and fell to the ground. And that's the sound that we hear on the recording. Like, so there's something to be said about that organic ability to kind of do it on the fly.
Yeah.
But it's so limiting, because you got to be in a studio, you got to have the band there, everybody's gonna be tight. You got to, whereas now, like you said, you can sit in your room with not even a Mac anymore. You can do this on an iPad, and you can produce, like guitars, drums, the whole thing. You can produce the whole thing in your bedroom, in a car, on an iPad. And I think it's just a tool that we've never had in history now, to see that you can actually pull up a piano on GarageBand for iPad and play your parts if you're skilled enough to do that. But yeah, I think this album, just to promote the album again, I mean, I do like it, and it has like a genuine, heartfelt sound. It feels good. It feels like you and kind of your attitude towards things. So
thank you.
So yeah. If you guys have not heard it, listen to it. 3 songs. It's a quick, easy listen, but I'll put it on repeat and let the kids listen to it and rock it in the car. So let's talk about how to go from a scratch to production. So you record the scratch, and we talked about Jacob. Jacob's a good friend of mine as well, but how do you get from, okay, I've got this the scratch part technically? Like, what do you do to add a layer? And when do you start taking the scratch away and adding the final parts?
Well, think of this scratch as like a template of the song. And usually it might, it might change over time, but at some point you decide this is the arrangement of the song and you use the scratch as a guide. So it's probably to a click track. It might have some cues in there. Hey, this is the chorus, pre-chorus, bridge, things like that. And then you build upon it until you can take it away. You might make a scratch vocal, and then when it's time to record the vocals for real, you take the scratch out. What if the scratch feels more inspired? What if it sounds good? What if you leave this? What if you leave that scratch? That happens too.
Yeah, I remember we recorded an album together years ago, and we technically did it live, and then we kind of would go in and replace some parts. And there's something that, going back to the Aerosmith example, like there's something about the in the moment that you can't replace. And sometimes it sounds fantastic, but then other times maybe guitar wasn't quite right, slightly out of tune, and you don't want to leave all that, so you can go in overdub.
Right.
But so what have you guys worked with any tools as far as like going into the technical side, like integrating straight into your devices? So like a lot of people don't know, as I gave the example earlier about the original Mac, you can't just plug right into your Mac. You typically need some sort of an interface. So let's say I've got my scratch down, but I'm ready to get like a little bit better guitar than just me playing and singing into my guitar. What are some tools that we can use to get a better sounding guitar into GarageBand?
Who wants to take it? We all.
Brian, you've been quiet. Brian, by the way, knows a lot about this stuff too. Brian's drummer, bass player, guitar player.
We can
producer.
manage your devices, but also be your backup band.
Yeah.
We can write your whole music if you need that, right? For your stuff. Well, I mean, the audio interface, and there's so many different. Grayson could probably talk about the levels of audio interfaces, but you need something to turn your microphone cable or whatever input you're using. Because if you want to get good guitar sound, it's not even a matter of plugging your guitar straight in your computer. You need an amplifier or something to shape that tone. So you're either miking that or you're running it direct from another type of application. It's all about converting analog to digital, right? So you need that interface, and that you can buy a $50 interface, or you can buy a multi-$1,000 interface, and somewhere can you hear the difference? I don't know, but I know I've got one on my desk. It's probably $120 interface I just use for microphone stuff, right? It's not anything fancy, but it'll get the job done. I know Grayson has a little bit nicer interface that probably is a tube or something.
I didn't start off with it though.
Sure.
Well, yeah. Well, and I haven't tried some of the. I believe the brand is iRig. iRig, I believe, makes a USB interface, and to kind of break that down, when they say, when we use the term interface, it's almost like a translator. Like you might be able to sometimes get the cable physically plugged in. Like you could take a guitar and get an adapter and plug it right into your computer, but it's not going to receive the audio the way it would be expected. So these interfaces like a little translator. So this iRig box,
oh, there you go.
It's made. Yeah, there you go. So the iRig, you plug into the iRig, and then is it USB-B?
Well, this is actually the one that's made for iOS or iPad OS.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So this is a step back. Well, because I used to actually rehearse or practice on my iPad just for it's quiet. I had kids sleeping at home, babies asleep. I had a emulator on my iPad, and this has it's 3 prongs. The iRig 2. I've had both 2 different generations of this, but basically this takes over the microphone and headphone input for the iPad, and there's an instrument input and a headphone out, so you're getting 2 channels there.
Well, yeah, and I think for people who are trying to do this, you have to think about not only what goes in, but what's coming back out to you. You've got to hear what you're playing. So that's when Brian, you're talking about, you've got the guitar going in, and then you could plug your, if you have some nicer studio headphones, or you want to plug in some headphones and you're playing in your bedroom and it goes back to your headphones. It's great. And, you guys know I'm a big fan of masterclass.com. Masterclass is awesome. You basically learn to cut a chicken apart the way Gordon Ramsay does or whatnot. But there's one I just watched a few weeks ago from Dead Mouse, the EDM producer. He's the guy that wears the like big metallic rat head. And Dead Mouse is so interesting because he can't play music. He can't like sit at a keyboard and play the melody that he's got in his head. So he draws everything on his computer. So he uses a PC, which is very unfortunate to see. But but he's basically using the same tools. You can download the software on either one, but it's sort of a garage band on steroids. I don't remember if he uses I can't remember what it is, but you can basically draw the notes. Like you'll see a piano and then you pick your tone and you just go and draw it through. And that's a digital way of doing it. But what we're talking about with the iRig would allow a guitar player, because the guitars, in my opinion, they're really hard to sound good with a pre-recorded. Like a drum sample is one thing, but a guitar is just got a whole nother world of like how you hold it and the chords. And
yeah, you couldn't recreate that. Like drum sample, you could mic a snare hit and reproduce that across a track and maybe adjust the dynamic of it a little bit and get it sounds like a drummer almost, right? You can fake that. With a guitar, you couldn't. There's no way. It would be all cut off, and the way you play the notes and you move your fingers.
Bending strings, pull offs. There's a lot more dynamics in those stringed instruments, and that's why I think Dead Mouse, most of his stuff's EDM, so it's all digital drum beats and tracks. There's not a lot of John Mayer kind of riffs and stuff over top of it, so you can pull that off. So if you're an EDM or a techno player, or even just a piano player, you can kind of do your stuff on an iPad. But I think the iRig, what you said is iRig 2, Brian?
I've had both of them. I forget why I got the second one. I think I needed an extra one for something. They may have a 3 now. I've had this for 4 or 5 years now. So there's probably another generation. I'm not sure, but and this is just, I wouldn't use this as a recording interface necessarily, but if you want to put a guitar, this would also work on the Mac, because it uses the same headphone mic that your cables do. So you could technically use something like this, and this is probably a $30, $40 device. You could put a guitar or anything with a 1/4 inch jack on it into your computer to record a track, even for like ideas, like scratch tracks and things like that. When you're just trying to do a concept, you just want to, do some diddly dees on your computer, you can do that.
Yeah. Well, there's the whole adage of like, if you run, you're a runner. If you write, you're a writer. And I think for musicians, it's like, if you record, you're a recording artist. It might not be on the same level, but getting those tiny bits of technology that can help you get that track down quickly. I think it's been proven now, like people have gotten famous off the crappiest video ever and they get discovered, not that that's necessarily the end goal, but I love the ability to, going way back to when I originally first started talking, it's like this whole big computer setup and all kinds of stuff and microphones and cables and just thousands of dollars of investment, versus now you can make songs that are pretty quality with an iPad and a $30 adapter. You can, get your drums in there, your guitars, microphones, they're equally easy now. I forget the name of the brand now. I wish I had it in front of me, but there's a brand of microphone now. And a lot of this stuff has come with the explosion of podcasting, where people have ideas or something they want to say, and the technology is coming out to be able to record a quality mic better. So there's now a microphone brand that plugs straight into the iPad. You just plug in your iPad Pro and you've got like a legitimate microphone, and you're sitting in an airport, if you wanted to. So there's basically no excuse anymore. So if you have somebody that says they're a musician and they're not recording, they're not a musician. So.
Well, I think, technology gives us, more than anything, it gives you the ability to capture your inspiration immediately. So think about if you're even a writer or you're a musician, with your phone, you can use voice memos and melody hits. Let me just sing this in my phone, and you've captured it. Because how many times have you had an idea and you're like just eating dinner or wherever, and then you get home and you want to do something with it and it's gone, right? So
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you guys have had that experience, but like the technology we have now, this what's in your pocket, your phone, you know, you can put GarageBand on here, right?
Yeah.
And if you have, you know, if you get a drum beat in your head, okay, I can, you know, kind of scratch that out real quick on my phone and it's there.
Well, and I want to address the kind of elephant in the room that I know a lot of people would be like, okay, easy for you guys to say, you're all IT guys. But the biggest, I think, probably difficulty is just learning the software. Like, okay, how do I get it to actually record? Well, there might be a little bit of a learning curve there. You know, I got this question actually over Thanksgiving. My uncle has written a book, and one of the people that bought the book is blind, and they wanted an audio version of it. So he was asking me, well, how could I record my book to tape? And, you know, my uncle being in his 60s, it's not necessarily the easiest thing, but technically, if he spent a little bit of time, he could, as you said, Brian, open up the Notes app and just say chapter 1 and read a chapter, pause, take a break, get a glass of water, do chapter 2, and then comes the scary part. Like, that's literally as easy as pressing a button to do that. But if you were to import those tracks into GarageBand, I think that's where people kind of get scared. But it's pretty intuitive. I don't use GarageBand on the iPad much, but I wrote the music for the Overcoming Average tune in the beginning, and some of the stuff I wrote it myself on an iPad just to have something original. And because I was just doing piano notes with a little bit of reverb, and you know, I mean, it's literally minutes, and you go, oh, this is pretty good. You can't break anything. You just get in there and play around with it. And if you can learn to get those, if you were doing an audio book and you just wanted to take, okay, track 1, 2, and just kind of slide them around, you're not going to hurt anything. So play with it. It is a learning curve, but I would encourage people that are afraid to just dive in.
I put GarageBand on my daughter's iPad. She's 8. And I said, well, here's how you add a guitar sound. Here's how you do a bass. And she like wrote a little song.
Yeah.
Just in like 20 minutes. It was terrible, but she did it, right? She was able to make all the things, you know, she didn't know anything about notes and keys or any of that stuff, but she did a thing just by like adding and say, oh, I want this to be the bass. I want to put a bass in here. I want to add a vocal track. I want to just sing over top, you know. It's very, especially on the iOS, it's very intuitive, I would say.
Well, and you know, Grayson was just talking at lunch today about how his kids even show him how to do things on an iPad. You know, so for the younger generations, there's definitely no excuse. Like, they need to just get in there and do it.
Yeah.
I just, I think that there's something to be said about the old way of doing things, but I just love the barrier to entry being basically just zero now.
Yeah, you don't have to rent out a studio. You don't have to have a sound engineer. You can if you want, but you don't need to. I think another cool thing about just people, creatives, is we create with what we have, and you know, doing the best with what you got. If all you have is an iPad, then you can make something.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know that for some people it's a lot. You know, again, just trying to be the devil's advocate. Oh, easy for you to say, you know, $1,000 iPad Pro to get this done. I mean, this stuff works on pretty much any device. You know, any iPad is going to be capable of doing something. Any version of Mac is going to be fine. I think as a creator, in the little bit of creation I do, I like to create on an iPad as a challenge to me to say, okay, this is all you get. You know, you don't get a fancy rig and you don't get a fancy interfaces and all this stuff. You've got to make something with this screen in your hands. And I found it to be kind of fun, a little bit of a challenge to like figure out how to loop something or figure out how to, you know, add a compressor to whatever. So, you know, and I would speak for all you guys, I think too, that when we were learning that stuff as younger guys, at one point in time, I didn't know what a compressor was until I just got one and tweaked the knobs around. And I was like, oh, that's what that sounds like. So don't be intimidated by that stuff. I mean, get in there, add those plugins and play with stuff and be creators. I think it's awesome. So, well, go check out Anthem Suite. It's now December 2nd. So Christmas is right around the corner. It's a good time to listen to Christmas music and even create Christmas music. So there's your challenge. Go create Christmas music. So yeah, thanks guys for joining us. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Again, we took this time to talk about creative stuff because we're creative guys and we like to create. We like to use our Macs for things other than just writing Word documents and spreadsheets. So, but yeah, if you need support, reach out to us, atlascarolina.com. Follow us. We try to make our news and stuff a little bit interesting, a little bit more personal, and try to not scare people off. So make sure to subscribe and follow us, and we'll see you guys next time.